Ayy, look, yeah, ayy. I'm in the lab like Dexter, brand new batch he tested. I'm with all the extras, don't try and bitch, I'm pressure. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers. I'm the type to step on steppers, I'm the type to step on steppers.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the New Media Podcast. I'm your host, We hope you enjoyed the last episode because, as always, today's going to be an even better episode. I got the whole crew with me. Everybody's in the house today, and today we'll be talking about Week 13 of the NFL season. The NFL season is flying by. We're already in December. A couple of weeks from now will be the end of the season. The playoffs will be kicking off, and so, of course, we're here to talk about it. We'll talk about it all. Tonight, we'll be talking about the Niners and the Philadelphia Eagles matchup on Sunday. We'll talk a little bit about that, give our takeaways about that, talk about biggest surprises, biggest disappointments, talk about the Dallas Cowboys a little bit, give our power rankings in comparison to our power rankings we did in Week 5, I believe. Then I got a couple of coaches that I want to talk about that are in danger of losing their job, and also a couple of quarterbacks that are we'll talk about that should be released, give them one more year or a contract extension. So, of course, before we jump into all that, temperature check, how's everybody doing tonight?
Man, a month ago, it was a different discussion about my team, and, football changes rapid. A month later, it's a whole different discussion. It feels good to be sitting where we're at, early part of the season, we started off well, then we ran into some troubles, and then now we kind of settled down a bit. So I'm happy where my team is at.
Like you said, man, sometimes, teams start off fast and they're sitting okay, and, they hit the tumble and they fall off, you know what I'm saying? And, we had a tough schedule. We're fine. We still got 2 tough games coming up, but we'll see. We'll see. We got the Niners coming up and we got the Eagles after. So, we got some top dogs, but we'll see what happens.
I love how the tone in your voice just changes when we talk about the Seattle Seahawks. I love it. 4 or 5 weeks ago, it was a different conversation when you're sitting at 5-2.
Like that locker room you're sitting in has been failing ever since they came into the league. I don't want to be part
of
it.
Don't we have the same amount of wins though?
Hey, like I said, I don't know what you compete for. We know what we compete for, but you guys
y'all not competing for much.
I mean, like I said, ever since that locker room first opened, ain't nothing coming there. Ain't no trophy.
This is my kingdom, bro. I love it here, man. What does it say in the back? See, legends start here. You already know what it is, man.
They could have won, so they had to walk off. I don't want to name
it, man. I'll give you that, man. But my team was on a bye this week, but as always, a good week of football. Just enjoying the game of football as a casual fan. Gives me a little bit of a peace of mind. But then, as always, next week it's right back to the grit and the grind. I think we have a matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders on the road, and as we're trying to make this playoff push, we have to win every game that's left on our schedule, and we don't necessarily have a tough schedule. But aside from all that, I don't want to talk too much about my team tonight, as we didn't have a game on Sunday. The game that we all want to talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the San Francisco 49ers, a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game, a game that was cut short due to Brock Purdy's injury. But in this past game, everybody was healthy, everybody was locked in and ready to go, and the San Francisco 49ers were able to go into Philly and give the Philadelphia Eagles a beatdown which was the score was 42-19. So let's go ahead and get our takeaways from that game first.
Like early on, the first drive for the Niners, it looked like it was a bit of a struggle. Looking like it was one of those games where Philadelphia is gonna kind of settle in and end up, edging it out. But then, like this Niners team, like it was legitimately 8 yards per play. Like everything felt like they were getting whatever they wanted. And Deebo Samuel, all off season long, he was talking about, James Bradbury's trash, and if we had Brock Purdy, we would have won. And he was just talking a lot of shit. And even coming into this matchup, he was talking shit. And the guy stood on business. Simple as that. The guy stood on business. The whole 49ers team stood on business. They basically told the Philadelphia Eagles, like, hey, if we had our quarterback that game, we would have beaten you guys. Simple as that. And this Philadelphia Eagles defense, man, they got ripped to shreds. Deebo Samuel got whatever he wanted. Christian McCaffrey got whatever he wanted. Brandon Ayuk got a touchdown. I mean, these guys legitimately, Brock Purdy was hitting guys wide open left and right. Like, they got absolutely torn to shreds. And it's a humbling. Like, sometimes, some of these teams, they need a reality check. Like, hey, like, the 49ers were telling them, we're here still. Like, just don't think the NFC is some sort of cakewalk. We're sitting around here. And that's exactly what they did. They gave him a beatdown. And, maybe tables would have turned if a couple of those drives that the Eagles got ended up in touchdowns, but they ended up in field goals, and the 49ers took advantage. They came right back and just smacked them right in the face. And that's a bit of a shock if I was an Eagles fan to you're coming into this matchup, you're thinking, well, now we can basically prove like, hey, we should have been in that Super Bowl. And they did the complete opposite, man. They got beat down, and it was a disappointing effort. And like without a shade of a doubt, I feel like we're all gonna probably have them as one of our biggest disappointments coming to this week when we talk about that segment.
Man, I felt like the Niners stood on business. All off season long, all beginning of the season, they said that, hey, if we had our quarterback healthy, it would have been a different story in the NFC Championship game. Especially Debo. Debo, him, calling out Bradbury in that secondary, saying that you guys are trash. Y'all couldn't stand a chance if our quarterback was playing, and it showed. Niners control the game from beginning, from the jump to the end. And they punched him in the mouth. Every single play they had, everybody ate, from Ayuk to McCaffrey, especially Debo. 3 touchdowns on the day, and he's playing phenomenal. And you got to mention the defense. I felt like the defense had a good day. AJ Brown ate, but they shut down that run. And, once you contain the Eagles' run, you force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. You sit in the zone, it's tough for him, and he struggled. So, for me, Niners, they came out, they stood on business. They said this if we had our quarterback, and that all these players are trash. They're not that good. And yeah, it shows. The score came out 42-19. I kind of don't like how the Eagles came out respectfully. Like, these guys are, calling you bums, calling you guys trash, saying that y'all don't deserve that championship without, us losing our multiple quarterbacks in a game. They didn't respond back to that. And, it shows that, Niners came prepared, and everybody had a field day. So, great game by the Niners. They put the Eagles on ice. They told them, like, yo, we're here. We're probably going to see each other again in the NFC Championship game. But last year was a fluke. This time we got our quarterback. We're healthy. We're ready to go. And that just showed out. So Eagles, they got to come back, and they got a big game this week against the Cowboys. So back-to-back weeks, Cowboys, they're hungry. They're blood ready. So Eagles got to respond back to this one as well. So we'll see what happens.
Man, I was expecting a better fight, a much closer matchup between these two teams, and it was looking like it for one quarter. The biggest takeaway for me from this game was how the Eagles came out and only left their first 2 drives with 2 field goals, leaving the end zone with 6 points. Obviously, when you play a team like the Niners, you don't want to, come out like that. Obviously, those 2 drives were amazing. The Eagles defense was able to hold. They were able to hold up on their end for a little bit. They were able to contain the Niners up until Kyle Shanahan and the guys were able to settle in. I know a lot of emotions are riding high on this game, and once they settle in and they realize that their run game, their run defense isn't good, Christian McCaffrey had a field day. I believe on those first 2 drives, Christian McCaffrey didn't have a single touch besides like 1 target, but other than that, he wasn't able to get the ball in the run game. And Brock Purdy looked a little bit rattled a little bit, but in the beginning. But that's the thing. I expected the Philadelphia Eagles to come out and swing and give them their best punch and kind of put the pressure on the Niners, because coming into this game, all the pressure was on them to perform, because the Philadelphia Eagles last year, obviously they didn't win the Super Bowl, but they beat them all the way into a Super Bowl appearance. And the Niners are still talking from literally the week of the Super Bowl all the way up until the week of the game, even on game day. And you don't necessarily give them their best shot. And so, all the credit to the Niners. Ever since they settled in after that first quarter, I believe they had 6 straight drives that all ended in touchdowns. And these weren't drives that were consisting of like going 40 yards down the field. They're all 75, 80 yards, 60-yard drives that all resulted in touchdowns. Everybody had a field day. And the Philadelphia Eagles offense, outside of the run game, I feel like they got everything they wanted in the pass game, but the one thing that I do have to knock on Jalen Hurts is just the fact that he kind of just waited a little too long in that pocket. The offensive line held up. I believe Jalen Hurts had a lot of time to do what he wanted in that,
Johnson had a really good
backfield.
game. Nick Bosa. Lane Johnson had a really strong game.
Lane Johnson had a nice showing, and AJ Brown had a solid day. Devontae Smith had a solid day. So I'm trying to see where it all went wrong for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm trying to see offensively why weren't they able to put up more than just 19 points. And the game was won in the trenches. They weren't able to generate anything on the ground. They weren't able to generate a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy. That Niners front seven, even though they weren't able to generate a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts, they did just enough to slow him down a little bit and slow down that offense. And when the Eagles aren't able to generate a lot of runs on the ground, their pass game could be pretty effective, but I'm not too sure if that's going to take them that far. Their offensive line is elite. Their run game with DeAndre Swift this year has been great. But in this past game, it just wasn't existent at all. So, I got to give all the credit to the Niners, man. They came out gunning, and they knew that this game was extremely big on their schedule. And eventually they might see this team down the line. Who knows? Obviously the NFC race is all extremely close between them and the Dallas Cowboys. But as we're moving forward in the season week by week, we're starting to see some separation from the Niners and every other team that's in competition with them, not just in the NFC, but in all of football. So now that we will move on from our takeaways, the Niners prove to the league that they're the best team out of every team in the league.
I mean, yeah, they certainly have a case. Like if somebody were to argue that the 49ers are the best team in the NFL, I wouldn't have a problem. I mean, they rattled off, and after they came off from that bye, they just rattled off just win after win, showing people that, hey, we just need to get healthy and, get back into reality. And we're still that team. I do still think though the Eagles, when you consider the fact that they had played, in a 5-week span, they had played the Dolphins, they had played the Bills, they had played the Chiefs, and of course they had ended up playing the Niners. They still ended up 4-1 in that span against a bunch of those good teams. Of course, the one loss isn't necessarily a good loss, but against all those other good teams, they still edged them out. So this doesn't necessarily change a huge lot about this Eagles team for me, but I do feel like, this was a humbling that they needed, and it shows how much of a threat the 49ers are to this team. And, if they had the quarterback in the NFC Championship game, maybe things would have been different for them. So I do think it was a wake-up call for the team.
I wouldn't argue against Niners being one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, offensively when healthy, defensively when healthy, they do show it. And those 3-game stretch that they lost, missing Debo, missing Trent Williams, it showed a little bit. You get those guys back, and they rip a little win streak, and it's very evident. They beat some good teams on that little win streak. So there's no argument about that. We haven't really seen a stable team offensively and defensively on both sides of NFC and AFC. So I feel like the Niners are. You do have the Eagles right behind them. You do got the Cowboys, but to me, I feel like they punched both those teams in the mouth, and I feel like they're much better. So I do agree with that. They're one of the best teams in the league.
So the Niners have played both teams, but I think they beat them by a combined score of 82-30 something, I believe, or something like that. Who would you say right now is the biggest threat to the Niners in the NFC? Would you guys still go Philly, or would you guys sway a little bit more towards Dallas?
I'm still heavy on Philadelphia because I just think that they have I have a lot of trust in their offense a lot more. I do understand that the Dallas offense has absolutely been cooking, but this Philadelphia team was putting up performances against the Bills. They had played against the Chiefs, and then they also played a gauntlet of really good teams. They played against the Dolphins, so I feel like they're a little bit more battle tested. I need to see. It's crazy because as we're talking about it, this upcoming schedule for the Dallas, they played the Philadelphia. This really is the test that we're looking for this Dallas team. Is their offense as real as we say it is? So I do feel like, if Dallas ends up getting this game, then we can have a different conversation. For now, I feel like the Eagles may still edge them out as a team to be a threat to the Niners.
With the Cowboys' upcoming schedule and the games they got, the Eagles, they got the Dolphins, they got the Bills. I feel like this is the competition that I need to see from the Cowboys and them to see, get W's against these top elite teams right here. I feel like if they can and they beat the Eagles and they come out beat the Bills and they come out beat the Dolphins, I feel like there would be more of a threat to the Niners than the Eagles will be. But very close for me. Eagles, especially them, they played a lot of great teams as well. So they're looking at their strength of schedule. It's not, they played a lot of great teams. So it's very close. But if Cowboys can, get a little win streak going on and these top teams coming up, I think I'll edge the Cowboys a little bit.
I'm not too sure what it's gonna take for you guys to believe in the Cowboys, man. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, let's keep in mind since that Niners loss, I believe they have a record of 6-1, and they have one of the best offenses in the league, led by Dak Prescott. So you guys are telling me that in order for you guys to actually have some faith in them and belief in them, that they have to rip off some wins in this gauntlet that they have coming up.
100%. I mean, the Eagles just played they played the Dolphins, they played the Bills, they played the Chiefs, they played the 49ers, and they went 4-1 in this gauntlet of good teams that they played. So they're battle tested. We're not gonna go ahead and just put the Dallas Cowboys ahead of the Eagles just because they played Tommy DeVito and a bunch of these random NPC teams, bro. Like, come on, man. Like we
Dak
just need
Prescott's playing
we
at
just
an
need some
MVP
proof.
level, though.
Jalen Hurts was playing like an MVP as
I'm
well.
not saying Dak Prescott. We're talking about the Cowboys as a team. I want to see them against these top elite teams. If they can string out W's against these elite teams right here, I'm putting them ahead of the Eagles. We've seen the Eagles face great competition. We've seen them play the Dolphins. We've seen them play the Chiefs. We've seen them play the Niners. We've seen them play the Bills. Like I said, they went 4-1. If Cowboys come out of here 0-3 against these top elite teams, well, what does that say about the Cowboys?
I mean, they got the Eagles, they got the
Necessarily,
Bills, they got the Dolphins.
it
They
doesn't
literally have
to
the
be
exact
Dak
same
Prescott. Dak
gauntlet.
Prescott can be successful in these games, but if the Cowboys come out with an L, what does that mean for the Cowboys? Are they, can they face elite competition when they go up and see them, or every time they see an elite competition team or a top elite team, they lose? Are we going to consider them? Hey, when they beat these teams, they've been the best offense in these weeks, but they lost to the Eagles twice, they lost to the Niners, they lost to the Dolphins, they lost to the Bills.
I mean, that's fair. I do gotta give them a lot of credit, man. I just feel like they're rolling right now.
They're
But
hot right now. They got a little win streak going on. Their offense is going, defense is cooking. But now it's time, get right. Let's see what they got. It's gonna help them
got
in
a
the playoffs.
Sunday night matchup against Philly, Buffalo, Dolphins, Lions. It's gonna really show whether or not Dak Prescott deserves an MVP award or not. But aside from all of that, the Niners, it's looking closer and closer to them finally accomplishing what they've been trying to go for since I've been in high school, where their Niner fans are screaming "Quest for 6." They've still been on that quest for 6, but this might just be the year, man. When you look at the landscape of the league and look at all the teams across the board, there's not really a more complete team from top to bottom when you look at the offensive side and the defensive side. So, with the season going on, I'm not too sure who they have on their schedule next, but not too many tough matchups on the way for them anymore. I believe they play you guys this week, and then aside from that, not
I think the
that
only
many
tough
tough.
matchup is only the Ravens, or us and the Ravens. That's it. Other than that, I don't know who else they face. They face the Cardinals, I know.
Cardinals, Washington Commanders, and they close out the year at the LA Rams. So there's not really a lot of tough matchups on their schedule. But I know that they're still trying to hunt for that number one seed in the NFC so they can secure home field. And with the Philadelphia Eagles potentially losing to the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday, that could change a lot of things in the NFC because not only would that drop them down, not only would that move the Niners up, but it would also drop the Philadelphia Eagles down to a wild card spot because the Dallas Cowboys would have the head-to-head tiebreaker over them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see, man. Obviously this race, for the number one seed in the NFC is getting a lot closer by the week, and teams have been stepping up. And so, as always, we'll be right here to talk about it all. But let's go ahead and jump into our power rankings. Going back to our week 5 power rankings, at number 1, we had the Niners, the Eagles. At number 2, the Dolphins at 3, the Lions at 4, Chiefs at 5, Bills at 6, Seahawks at 7, Ravens at 8, Chargers at 9, and Jaguars at 10. And so now it's time to give our more updated week 13 or week 14, I should say, power rankings prediction. And as always, we'll start off with number 1. Number 1, we can agree that the team that we had in week 5 is just going to stay at that number 1 spot. So we'll go Niners once more. Now everything gets tricky. Now I don't have no idea where we should possibly go after here.
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're currently the second best team in the NFL. I just like them. Similar reasons why you like, the 49ers, even though I don't think the Ravens have as good of a wide receiver corps, but even then, for like top to bottom, they've generally been, their healthiest, and they've just been playing like flat out great football. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens at number 2.
It's tough, man. Between number 2 for me is gonna be between probably the Ravens and the Eagles. Considering how the Eagles, considering how the Eagles just got punched in the mouth, I gotta put the Ravens at 2. You just like these guys were talking shit from the day they lost. They called it a fluke. You know how disrespectful that is? Like, bro, the day they lost, they came out and said it's a fluke. Next time we see them, we're beating them. They got put a smacking on them. But I got the Ravens at 2. They've been very consistent this year. I think they're sitting at 9-3.
9-3. They're just coming off their bye as well, and so they'll be playing this week.
I don't know who they play this week.
I couldn't even tell you.
I think they play the LA Rams. That's what they play this week. But
good game to get right, get back into the flow for them. But I'll put the Ravens at 2.
I can get behind that. We can go. So we'll go Niners 1. We'll go Ravens 2, 3.
I'll go with the Eagles.
Yeah, I'll go with the Eagles.
We're not putting the Dolphins in here.
No,
No.
especially after
Okay.
these run of games that the Eagles just had. I have to give them this at least.
We got it. We're going with the majority there. Then we're going Eagles 3, 4. Is this where the
This
Miami Dolphins land?
This one's a little tricky for me. I feel like I'll go with the Dolphins here. Like I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs, especially after these recent weeks, I just can't justify
Why
having them
are
here.
we not tossing the Cowboys there?
Yeah, that's not a bad option either.
If we're talking about, strength of schedules and this and that, I mean, Dolphins, being the Jets, being the Commanders, and they haven't really been a decent team either.
I mean, why isn't the Lions a consideration here?
That's another team that can be a consideration.
Because they're frauds.
I feel like
Have we not been watching the last couple of weeks of what they've been doing?
I mean, the record for itself though, 9-3 is kind of crazy.
It's an impressive record, but when you're not winning in dominating fashion, it's not really.
I do think since week 5, their defense has been pretty damn terrible though. So
I feel like the last couple of weeks to me they kind of slowed down. Offensively, they slowed down a lot. I don't know. They haven't been turning up like that. It's been more close games. And last week, they almost lost that last week, but it came through in the end.
Those guys are frauds, man. When can we have that discussion that those guys are not a legit team?
Hey, man, they're sitting at 9-3, man. That's tough.
Yeah, but the Vikings were like,
it's the same conversation that people were having about my Vikings last year, though.
Yeah. Y'all literally what 11-1 in these fake ass 1-score games.
Clutch,
come on,
clutch.
Bro.
We had the clutch gene though. We had the clutch gene last year.
That was a telling sign, bro. That shit was coming from a mile away. I have the Dolphins, and then I'll have the Cowboys. I think, but I think I'll have the Dolphins.
Like I said, for me, like, what's the difference of the argument here?
I do here. I will say that I think that the Dolphins' offense is still better though.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
But the Cowboys' offense.
I think honestly, I'd probably go Cowboys here at 4. Even though the Miami Dolphins are still a great team, I just feel like if we go all the way back to week 5, when we had this conversation, the Dallas Cowboys weren't even on this list. And since then, they've reeled off a 6-2 streak in those last 8 games. And so I think we can comfortably go. We'll go 4 Dallas. We can go 5 Miami. And then after that, we're at 6 now.
What's Miami's record?
9-3.
Miami's 9-3, sitting at number 1 in the AFC, but the Baltimore Ravens didn't play this week, so
I want to give Miami. Okay, yeah, Miami 5th. Yeah.
Miami 5th, 6th.
6th will be between Chiefs and the Lions.
I think I'll have the Lions right here.
I can get behind that. I don't mind having them here.
I think I'll have the Lions here. Then I'll think I'll have the Lions here, and then after that, I don't mind having the Chiefs after them. The Chiefs have been unimpressive, man.
But if we consider teams like now, even with the Chiefs being very unimpressive, we got the Jaguars, we got the Texans. They're right there record-wise as well.
I was just gonna say I would as of right now, I would put the Jaguars over the Chiefs. Chiefs haven't shown me nothing. Hey, you guys already know how I feel about them this year. They haven't shown me nothing. And on Sunday, it was just the icing on the cake when they couldn't go into Green Bay as 6.5-point favorites and win that game.
Yeah, I mean, even then, their defense has just been lights out. Prior to this game, at least against the Green Bay Packers. Before that, their defense overall has been lights out. I don't know what's a telling sign of this Jaguars team. I don't know where I can point to and say this side's been impressive to me. I guess their defense.
I feel like they've been very balanced. It hasn't been just one side. I feel like their offense is good, their defense is good.
I don't know about their offense though.
No,
I
but when
feel
you
like
need the offense to show up, though, sometimes they come in and come show up.
if people really needed that game, not this game, but the game before that for Trevor Lawrence to show up.
That was against Texans, right?
The Tennessee Titans when
Titans game.
When he put up 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 throwing.
Yeah, that's the one. I don't know, man. I think I was just.
Does this injury
just for the
change?
credit. Isn't it game time for next game though?
Yeah, I mean he got tagged with he got slapped with the dreaded high ankle sprain, so it's probably unlikely that he plays this week. More likely that he probably
I'll go with the
gives it a
Chiefs.
try. Okay, we go Chiefs. We go Chiefs at what, 7? Where are we at? 7 now? Yes, so we're Chiefs 7. Probably put the Jaguars here.
Where we put my Texans, man?
This
Probably put
is
the Jaguars here.
Yeah.
We have 2 spots left, man. 9 and 10. When we go back to our list,
Honestly, it might just be the Texans and the Colts, bro. Honestly, Shane Steichen has done a great job with this Colts team. They've been sneaking wins, man. I mean, what else do you have left? You know, the Rams are at 6-6. The Seahawks are at 6-6. All these other teams I'm not gonna put any team that's I'm not putting the Falcons there. I don't care if they're at the top of their division.
Yeah, Pittsburgh there. You have Cleveland there.
Man, if we just beat the fucking Cowboys. Fuck.
Yeah,
I don't think beating the Cowboys would have put you guys on this list, man.
For sure would have.
I think it would have easily, to be honest.
I think
Houston's on here.
I'll finish it out with the Texans and the Colts.
Texans and the Colts.
Is there any other team you got in mind? Like, are we missing?
Nah, man. You know the teams that should be
the
here.
NFC is trash. You don't even bother to gotta look at the NFC.
I can't put the Bills up.
It's really just
AFC's just as bad too, man.
You really just have. You have the Steelers though. Steelers, Browns,
Bills or Colts.
Honestly, though,
Colts. I'm going Colts, man. No, 100%. They've been the team that's been battle tested all year without their rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson playing. You have Gardner Minshew out there. They're well coached and they're sitting at the 7th seed right now, tied with the Houston Texans with a 7-5 record, man. So I think since the last time that we talked about these power rankings, these guys have been one of the most impressive teams alongside the Houston Texans. So the Bills have been nothing but a true disappointment. Although they caught a break with I believe Jacksonville lost. The teams that were above them lost. The Steelers lost, the Browns lost, and so they do have an opportunity to make the postseason. But we talk about actual power rankings right now. Probably comfortably go Houston at 9 and Colts at 10 because that's obviously a team that wasn't on our list. The Cincinnati Bengals are still not on our list because Joe Burrow's out for the season, and so they weren't able to somehow, some way make our hierarchy list. Your Seahawks fell out of it, and every other team in the NFC outside of that is terrible.
How about the Packers?
I mean, they're sitting at 6. There's a bunch. They're all 6-6 teams, though. I feel like the Texans overall, when you look at just how they've been playing, and then the Colts there as well, winning games with Gardner Minshew is that's impressive, man. It's not like Gardner Minshew is a terrible backup quarterback. I think he's a pretty decent backup quarterback. But even then, I don't think anybody had expectations of the Colts going 7-5 with Gardner Minshew. So I think that's just credit to how good Shane Steichen has been, man.
Jonathan Taylor too, as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
you just got a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, they're putting together wins, man.
So we'll go 9 Texans, and then we'll go 11, not 10, not 11. 9 Texans, 10 Colts.
Yep.
And teams on the bubble, probably teams like the Packers. Probably put the Seahawks in there. We'll put the Vikings in there. What other teams are we looking at? Look at the AFC.
I mean, you can put the Bills. The Bills are there.
Probably put the Bills on there. The Denver Broncos, if they were able to win this past week against the Texans, they're probably still in there. But it's tough cracking that top 10, man. It's a lot of.
Let's push out to the ass topics, man. Where these fucking trash ass quarterbacks need to be cut. Tired of these bum ass fucking backup quarterbacks and starting quarterbacks giving this much leeway and leverage, man.
Let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to list off a group of quarterbacks. You guys will tell me whether or not they should be released, given one more year, or a contract extension. And the first quarterback on my list is Abdi's quarterback, Jordan Love.
Oh, Bro, give that man another year, bro. Either way, he's under contract till next year, so might as well again just give him another year. But I feel like he's giving himself more than enough time. He's giving himself an extension. These last 3 weeks, he went to play the Chargers, then played the Lions, and then he played the Chiefs. I think, he solidified himself. Sitting on 22 touchdowns. I think he's finishing out the year very, very strong. So, give my boy another year, man.
He's playing with the youngest receiver core and youngest tight end core, and he's cooking up. I think he deserves. He's going to be on the Packers for a while. So give him a nice contract,
So you're going contract extension?
Give him a contract extension.
I don't mind getting contract extension. He's just under contract till next year, anyways.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he deserves it though. I feel like this year coming in, you start off kind of good, and then you get into that slow patch. And these last 5 games for him, it's just been phenomenal. He's been directing this offense left and right. And kudos to these young receivers. They've been stepping up, especially Christian Watson. I feel like he's been getting into the flow thing. So good to see him connecting with this young quarterback.
It's not even about him just being under contract for one more year.
I would give him a contract extension.
No, would you give him an opportunity to play out that last year of his contract, or go into a different direction and draft a quarterback and just have him get thrown to the fire?
Let him play out that contract.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and give Jordan Love one more year. I think he's been able. If you asked me this 3 weeks ago before he won that game against the Chargers and started ripping off these last couple of wins, would have been a different answer. But I think these last 3 weeks he's been.
If you look at the Packers' losses and how close the loss has been to a couple of these teams, man.
Fucking Falcons game is so stupid, bro. We were up 14 going to the fourth.
Raiders game.
Stupid shit like that, man.
That Steelers game was pretty close too, 23-19. I think he threw a pick in the end of that game.
In the end of the game, bro. Like little games like that.
So we'll go ahead and give him one more year. The next quarterback on my list, Baker Mayfield.
So what are the options for this?
So we got either you cut him, give him one more year, or give him a contract extension.
Shit, if I give him another year, is he starting?
Yeah, he's your starting quarterback going into next year. I'm
cutting him, man. You got, I think he's done decently as a bridge quarterback, but, you got to reach into this draft and get a quarterback, and, this quarterback class is pretty deep, so you might have a chance to snag some sort of quarterback, and I feel like you got to take your opportunity where you can. He's done his job as a bridge quarterback, but I'd cut him.
They're sitting right now at a top 10. I think they have a top 10 pick right now. I'm definitely cutting him. The way that the season's probably going to end for them, I don't think they make playoffs. Mike Evans is probably going to walk, and it's time to rebuild for Tampa. You gotta invest in a quarterback. You can't walk into the next season with Baker Mayfield and act like, hey, we're going to be a contending team. You're going to be middle of a pack team. He's a bridge quarterback, and you want to utilize your draft picks. You don't want to sit at 12, 13, 14 pick all multiple years in a row, not getting a young quarterback in the draft. So I feel like this year there's a lot of good young quarterbacks in the draft. They got that top 10 pick, man. Go out and get a quarterback. Got to cut the boy.
I'm gonna go ahead and give him one more year. I think he's done a phenomenal job.
We already know this guy's.
Hey, it's a Baker Mayfield fan. There's not much we can do, bro.
Like immediately,
this guy was getting tossed from team to team last season, and now he's found a decent home.
Rightfully so. What is it? Decent.
He's been playing. He's been playing pretty solid though.
5-6.
They're 5-7 right now, and competing still in a division that's one of the worst divisions in football. So there's still an opportunity. What the Falcons have a record of 6-6, so they're one game out from winning the division. The Panthers are already out, and the Saints are on a good team.
Barring the Panthers need a new quarterback. Every one of those teams, but the Panthers need a quarterback.
But Baker Mayfield's been pretty good this year.
He's not a quarterback.
Pretty serviceable, I should say.
Mike Evans if he does walk, right? What do you got? Tell me. You're going into the next season with Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin. What's that going to do for you?
Probably go into the draft.
Why give him a year though? I'm confused. Why give him a year?
Why even give him a year? Like, what's the point?
I think he's done a pretty decent job on this.
But like, what is your aim with him? Like, what are you trying to attempt to get at? He's obviously not a franchise. He's not a franchise
because you kind of speed up that whole rebuilding process if you're able to turn Baker Mayfield into better than what he is right now.
No,
And so
that's been done and tried at a different organization. Like that's not your job in bringing him here. Like you need to go out and actually rebuild. You have good veteran presence in the locker room and everything. Cool, that's great and all, but now it's time to actually head in a direction where you need to start rebuilding. And you don't need Baker Mayfield at the front of that.
I think the players on the team are more likely to continue playing on this Buccaneers team with Baker Mayfield under
They're
center
not trying to.
in
They're not
comparison
trying to
to a
quote
rookie.
unquote lose. They're not trying to quote unquote lose or rebuild. Players hate the idea of a rebuild.
Exactly. I don't even think Mike Evans has a problem with Baker Mayfield. I mean, he just hit his 10th career 1K season in a row with Baker
We've
Mayfield.
seen Mike Evans play with the bummest quarterbacks ever. Come on, man. As long as that guy gets paid, I think that's the only thing that really matters. I just don't think they should give him a year. Like that's just, cool. He's done his job, like bridge quarterback. That's cute and all, but he's not a franchise quarterback. Guy's like 27, man, 28. We're past that.
Yeah, fair enough. The next quarterback on my list, Kenny Pickett.
Yo, release that brother, man. I'm dead ass. Release that guy. Like people are gonna say, well, it's Matt Canada's offense. Like, no, this guy, like going back to his days at Pitt, like this guy it's not nothing about a franchise quarterback. Like legitimately only went that high because that quarterback class was so terrible. He had to get picked at some point. Like, and lined up that he went to Pitt. Like this guy is just like, I don't necessarily see it with him. It's not just a product of Matt Canada's awful offensive play calling, even though he's gone. I just don't see it necessarily the talent level with Kenny Pickett. I feel like the Steelers keep going through the cycle of they start off the season 1-4 and then they string together like 3 wins and then they finish out the year strong, go 9-8. Fans get a little hope. Same cycle every single year. Like you need to at some point get yourself like a franchise quarterback after Big Ben, and Kenny Pickett is not the answer.
I don't think Kenny Pickett's the answer either. I'll give him one more year, just because they made the playoffs last year. He was pretty clutch towards the end of the season. He was okay, but
they made the playoffs last year.
Did they make the playoffs last year, or they missed it?
I think they missed it, but they finished the season above 500.
I don't think
they ended the season like 6-1 last year. I know that they ended on a little hot streak, but for me, I still got to judge him off a little more. I feel like he's been thrown into a situation that was pretty bad, especially with how the old line is, how the receiver core is. I feel like they're missing a lot of pieces, but I don't think he's a good quarterback either. I feel like in the right system he can be. I don't think the Steelers is the right system, but cut his ass. Yeah, cut his ass. I'm sorry, cut his ass.
Yeah, I believe that I'm going release. They should release Kenny Pickett. There's nothing that writes a franchise quarterback, for Kenny Pickett. There's nothing that he's shown me so far, that can sit here and confidently say that he should be the Steelers quarterback moving forward. The Steelers are able to compete each and every year. That's because Mike Tomlin and this defense is great still. But with all these playmakers they got on this team, I think another quarterback could do a way better job. I don't think that Kenny Pickett. I honestly don't know how he ended up getting drafted. Just looking at it, but at the end of the day, when you look at the Jets, Zach Wilson ended up getting drafted. So, sometimes people get lucky, but there's nothing on tape that shows me, that Kenny Pickett can be a serviceable quarterback in this league. So, I'm going release. The next quarterback that we have on this list, Derek Carr.
What's the record?
You already know my
5-7.
And do they have? What's their pick at right now? Do you know?
Probably somewhere in like the top. I should probably say like what, top 12.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like the only reason why I'm gonna say give him 1 year is literally just because they gave this guy just a contract right now. Like you have there's just no point. You have to take the L on that, and hope you lose out the rest of the year and you can pick up some sort of talent. But this is this type of quarterback class where you would have went, for a quarterback. But at this point you have to just eat your L and pay, and finish out the contract with this guy. I give him 1 more year. I don't think he's necessarily done his job, with this team. Like I feel like Jameis Winston was more serviceable for the wide receivers. I feel like that's important to guys like Chris Olave. You have Michael Thomas taking shots every single day on Twitter about Derek Carr. Like, this he just isn't necessarily the quarterback that they needed. But I would just give him another year because fucking contract that you gave him.
They have the 9th pick right now. Does that change your answer?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You could still go with a franchise quarterback, but like you look so stupid paying someone and then drafting a quarterback. Like it's the dumbest thing that you could have done. But I would go with. Damn, that changes the 9th pick though.
9th pick, man. They can get somebody good with that 9th pick. But then you think about it this way though, because Derek Carr's contract is not team friendly at all. There's absolutely no out in this contract, and he's guaranteed a lot of money these
Yeah,
next
I'm
couple of
giving him
years.
another year. You have
So
to.
they might just be forced to give him another year.
You have to eat your L on that. It's not like a team friendly contract that you could get out of easily. You handed him it for a reason, so give him another year.
If we're just talking football terms and what's good for the team, cut him. Cut him. He's a horrible quarterback. I promise you, he's a horrible, horrible quarterback. Doesn't matter who he has on the field. He can have prime Calvin Johnson. He can have prime Randy Moss. He can have prime Antonio Brown. He's still not getting the ball. Just because this contract is so nasty, you're gonna have to keep it for another year. But I mean, go try to go still draft a quarterback. It doesn't hurt. Just have him right there as a secondary quarterback and just wait. And if Carr fails again or gets hurt again, you have your rookie quarterback and you just throw him to the fire. You don't have to wait. I feel like this quarterback class, like I said before, there's a lot of great quarterbacks in this class, and I think you get a great one at the 9th pick. So for me, it's keep him for this 1 year because of the contract. And still draft a quarterback, but after that, he should be gone.
I'm going release on this one. I just feel like even though the Saints salary cap situation is terrible, you just got to eat the contract on this one and suffer the consequences of your own actions. You went out there in free agency and signed Derek Carr thinking that he was going to be the guy next up after all the quarterbacks that the Saints went through these past couple of years since Drew Brees, but it's not looking like it. And every time we see Jameis Winston on the field, we get a different type of experience in comparison to Derek Carr. So I'm going to go release. You just got to move on, take the L on that one, because you never know what type of team you might have. Because I don't even think Alvin Kamara might be on this team next year. Michael Thomas isn't any good anymore. So you got to do what's best for guys like Chris Olave. And Chris Olave is another guy that's frustrated with Derek Carr's play, but being the guy that he is, he's not going to come out like Michael Thomas and be frustrated and voices frustrations through social media and things of that nature. The next guy we have on this list, Daniel Jones.
It is a team-friendly deal that they kind of can get out of, but it would have to be, I think, after next year. Like, I would give him another year. The Giants kind of screwed themselves out of the Caleb race, picking up some wins, here and there, and Tommy DeVito got them in positions that they ended up winning, and like that, especially that game against the Commanders, basically put him out of the race for Caleb. So I would give him another year. It's a team friendly contract. If you end up trying to get a higher pick, you can attempt to get a Drake May or attempt to get a quarterback of that caliber. But they may be out of the race for that as well. So I would just give him another year.
I think you give him another year. I don't, based off this year, I feel like there's a lot of problems with this team as well. Injuries, no receivers, no line. You give this guy no options whatsoever. It's absolutely not fair. This guy, I think it was 1 week against the Cowboys. It was like 12 sacks they gave up, or like 8 sacks they gave up, and then they played Seattle. They gave up 12 sacks. And it's like he has no type of protection or anything. I feel like you got to, get him situated like you had him the year before, where he carried you guys into the playoffs. He had that great year, and I think he's on a friendly contract as well. So I'll keep him for another year. If it goes the same way again, where it's a nasty turnaround, where he's having a lot of turnovers again, and they're not moving the ball on offense, maybe you look at getting another quarterback or drafting another quarterback. I'll give them 1 more year. I feel like the Giants, they need to get an elite receiver. They need to get somebody in free agency, or they need to get somebody elite in the draft. They're sitting in a position where they have a whole lot of money. They can get somebody in free agency and they pick up somebody in the draft. So, and they got to kind of revamp that line as well. So we'll see what happens this offseason. But as a Giants team, they have a lot to fix up on Daniel Jones as well.
I'll go ahead and give him 1 more year. The next quarterback that we got, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Man, Jimmy G, man, this guy's damn right hilarious. But let me see. Actually, where do the Raiders even have? Okay, they're sitting at 11th right now. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's not like Jimmy G's like costing you a lot. Like, it's not like it's killing your pockets or anything. But this team doesn't necessarily have that sense of direction. And I feel like with the new head coaching and basically new staffing, I feel like they should go in a different direction. I, I do end up believing Devontae Adams will still be on this team, even next year. I feel like that they're looking at this guy to be their veteran presence at wide receiver to help whoever that they want to bring in. So I would say release Jimmy G. Go ahead and get yourself a quarterback in the draft, man.
They should have just got a quarterback in the draft last year. I'm pretty sure Ziegler or Zegler, I'm not too sure if that's his name. He wanted to go get a quarterback. I think he wanted C.J. Stroud. It was either C.J. Stroud or take Bryce Young. If he could get Bryce Young, it was keep Jimmy G. Yeah, the coach opted for Jimmy G. So I felt like that Jimmy G. It's a whole new coaching staff they got going on over there, and a new regime. I think Jimmy G's out the door. For me, I'll cut him. I'm pretty sure the Raiders probably going to cut him, and they're probably going to move on. But he should have been. He shouldn't even sign this contract. The Raiders shouldn't even give him this contract at all.
Release him as quickly as possible, as soon as tomorrow. There's no reason for Jimmy G to be on this team. There's nothing that writes Jimmy G as a winner. Obviously that track record that he has on the Niners is nothing. He came over to the Raiders and has brought nothing but a losing environment over there. He's not even the starting quarterback anymore. So, it's time for the Raiders to go in a different direction and get themselves a franchise quarterback. And just move on from Jimmy G. That contract's not going to hurt your salary cap, and I think it's time. These next 4 quarterbacks might be a little bit interesting. So, the first quarterback that we got, Justin Fields.
So release trade, give him another year contract extension. I would release him. You're gonna have the best pick in the entire draft. You're gonna come into this draft having the option to go and get a quarterback who's been labeled a generational talent, who's seen as the number 1 prospect in years at the quarterback position, a guy in Caleb Williams. And this Justin Fields experiment, it's been going on for about 3 years now. Whether that's a combination of his talent or lack thereof, or the team context, the situation that he's in. You're gonna come into this draft having 2 high picks. You're gonna have a very, very high 2 high picks. So honestly, in my opinion, I would literally just go ahead and draft Caleb Williams, and it's time for Justin Fields to find a new team. Like I trade him, get whatever you can from him, because I feel like this experiment just hasn't worked out for both sides, and I'm not a huge Justin Fields believer, and I feel like this experiment between him and the Bears is just not working anymore. I would go out and get Caleb Williams.
Yeah, for me, I'd probably, the picks that I have coming up in this draft, I'll probably trade Justin Fields, try to, recoup, try to get some more picks for him, find a team that's desperate for a quarterback. I know there's a lot of teams that, could pick up Justin Fields, kind of put him into a system and, make it work. But for the Bears, man, I think they're done with him. They know offensively they really can't do much with him. It's tough for him to get the ball down the field in this, with this offense, and they've seen it. So I feel like they're done. I feel like they're gonna, try to trade him before the draft happens, try to get him off the books, try to get him off the team, and they're gonna go out and get Caleb Williams and probably Marvin Harrison. Stack up that team. They already got DJ Moore. Give Caleb Williams some options. They got Cole Kmet. They're a young team. They got a nice little young defense. So I feel like it's time up for Justin Fields in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm going in a different direction. I'm going contract extension. I think we're beyond giving Justin Fields a little bit more time. I think just this past season, this current season we're in, towards the end of last season, I think he's done a good enough job at proving that he's the franchise guy for this team. And especially ever since they got DJ Moore this year, their offense hasn't necessarily been much of an issue. Defensively, they still have a million other problems that they can address in the draft. But I don't think fixing your franchise means going through quarterbacks every 3 years. That's not going to work. If you want to be a successful franchise, if you want to get out of the rebuilding phase and enter the competitive phase and the contending phase, you need to be able to stick with the quarterback that you have if you feel like there's something there. there's something there with Justin Fields. You guys can't sit here and tell me Justin Fields is a bad quarterback. Yes, he had his struggles, but a lot of that could be put on the receiving core that he was given. You can put that on the offensive coordinator and the head coaches that he's been given. He's probably going to end up going through another head coach if he still ends up sticking around up until next year. And so I think the Chicago Bears have found their guy with Justin Fields. Now, where do you go from here as a franchise? You probably want to get another weapon alongside DJ Moore because you need a guy to complement DJ Moore. And then on top of that, you probably get an offensive-minded head coach, and then you try to retool up that defense. At the trade deadline, they did make a trade for Montez Sweat. That was a pretty good addition. But there's going to be a lot more. There's a lot more pieces that are needed on that side of the ball to be able to turn this Bears team around. So I think Justin Fields has done a phenomenal job. Not a phenomenal job, a pretty good job, given the situation that he's been in. So I think
I don't know about that, man. Contract extension is kind of like 1 year maybe, but even then, I don't even agree with
report cards. We giving D+ report cards pat on the back.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job.
I don't know about
if Justin Fields was as bad as you guys are making him out to be, he would have been benched a long time ago. It doesn't even matter who's their backup quarterback. So it's not Justin Fields playing bad.
The thing is, he's not playing bad enough to where you're saying, oh, you bench him, but he's not playing as good as what you would have expected a Justin Fields to play. I mean, it's been 3 years, and the complaints about Justin Fields have still existed. At some point, we have to accept this is the reality of the situation. Like, this is just what is going on with Justin Fields. Like, especially in this type of draft where you have the opportunity to snag a quarterback like Caleb Williams. I'm sorry, but it's been 3 years with Justin Fields, and I'm not giving you a contract extension and potentially passing up a quarterback who's been labeled as generational, a quarterback who's one of the more talented prospects we've seen in years, just on the whims of hoping that Justin Fields, if we put him in a better situation, might just be way better than we thought. Like, I wouldn't do that as a franchise. Like, I would just call it quits now with Justin Fields. He's going to finish out this season. Whether he improves his trade value or not, we'll end up seeing, and just move on from there, get assets back for him. Take the L on that. It's just not a situation that's worked out for either side. And I don't see personally the same optimistic outlook that people have for Justin Fields. Like, I don't see the same level of talent that other people see for Justin Fields. It's just not the same for him. I do think on a different team, he might just end up being better, but I don't think it's enough where it's going to be like, well, Chicago absolutely whiffed on this and they lost out on an amazing player. Like, nah, I'm getting Caleb Williams 10 times out of 10.
But if you get Caleb Williams, what's going to change? The issues that you're going through right now are still going to be there. Caleb Williams is not.
I mean, he's more talented than Justin Fields,
quarterback.
Though. He's more talented than Justin Fields. I believe he's gonna show a lot more of his ability than Justin Fields can. Like, I think he's just a flat out better football player than Justin Fields. As crazy as that sounds for
that's crazy for a guy that hasn't even stepped foot in.
Yes, I think he's gonna step in and just be better than Justin Fields right away. Simple as that. Like, that's how good I believe Caleb Williams is. And then on top of the fact that I think right now they're sitting at 5th for the draft odds, just because Arizona's like 3-10, the next team's 4-8, and then they're 4-8 as well, or something like that. So they're sitting at 5th. If they end up continuing to lose games, they may end up being able to get higher. And end up snagging Marvin Harrison. It depends, but like, they have the opportunity to just head in a different direction from Justin Fields, and I think that's exactly what they need to do.
Why not just trade back with like they did last year? There's a team like the Patriots that could use Caleb Williams, and then
they could use Caleb Williams. They could use Caleb Williams.
Why not? Why not just trade that pick back that they have from the Panthers? Trade back with the Patriots, who are at number 2. I know the Patriots would be interested in Caleb Williams. The Patriots get what they want.
They should be interested in Caleb Williams. They themselves, Chicago, should be interested in Caleb Williams. Not just the Patriots. They themselves need Caleb Williams. That's exactly what they need.
An offense led by Justin Fields and DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison doesn't move you?
No, I need Caleb Williams in there, bro. The quarterback is the needle mover, number one. First of all, that's the number one important thing. The quarterback's the needle mover. You're not getting anywhere with a bad quarterback situation. I'm sorry.
That's a little interesting. Big H, you think Caleb Williams is better than Justin Fields?
100%. I mean, you got to throw the ball down the field, brother, man.
I'm moving. We're moving on, ladies and gentlemen. The next quarterback that we have on this list is Russell Wilson. I can't believe what I'm hearing tonight, man.
Give him another year, man. Like, I feel like you could just build off of this. Even if they don't end up making the playoffs, I do think that they have, realized like, maybe there is something still there with Russ. Maybe he's not the same Russ that he was 3, 4 years ago. He doesn't have the same mobility. He's not as big of a big play threat as he was back then. But he's still a competent quarterback and he's still able to get things done. Let's just build from here. Let's trade a couple guys that are disgruntled. Move off from Jerry Judy. Just hasn't worked out. Retool this team and continue to build it because Sean Payton was brought in to win. He wasn't brought in to rebuild. So I think you give Russell Wilson another year. Just continue on with the contract.
These last 5 games, I think Russ been cooking up. I think he deserves another year. But like the first year, situational wise was tough for him. A lot of with the coaching, the offensive line and defensive line. They're going through a lot of issues. But like this year with Sean Payton coming in, they kind of fixed up. They're fighting. They got 5 wins. Feel like they're competing. They got a couple easy games on the schedule. And I think he deserves another year. Your mic.
I'll go ahead and give him another year. I think Russell Wilson's done a pretty good job given the start to their season. He's been playing pretty, he's been pretty serviceable since the beginning of the year. He's not really doing too much. It's just kind of playing within the means of the system. And with Sean Payton there, they've really turned around this team. And even though they had a tough loss against the Houston Texans this past week, they still have an opportunity to make the playoffs. So you probably give him one more year, try to retool this roster as best as possible. Maybe next year we could have a different discussion whether or not you still want to keep him around. The next quarterback that we got on this list, we got 2 more left. We got Sam Howell.
I'm not gonna lie, like he's moved me. He's moved me. I'm not gonna lie. I came in as a critic. There's still obviously some things there with him holding onto the ball for very long and taking sacks. But I feel like for what he's brought to this team, I think he's done a fairly good job. Like I think I'm on board with a contract extension. I think he's shown me enough as a thrower, as a passer. Like sometimes I see him and I see shades of a smaller Josh Allen sometimes.
Hell nah.
I'm telling you, I see a lot with this guy.
You are tripping, brother. You are tripping,
no,
brother.
This guy's
my
leading
receiver comes out when my receiver comes out saying I'm running 13 miles of cardio and I don't get the ball looked at me.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Listen, let me say this first. I took an L comparing Terry McLaurin and CeeDee Lamb because Terry McLaurin has regressed a lot. Go back to that Cowboys game, Terry McLaurin versus the Cowboys.
Another one we want. There's another one we want.
Go back to Terry McLaurin.
We're getting there. We're starting to get somewhere. We'll get back to that.
Go back to Terry McLaurin versus the Cowboys game. That guy is just he fell off. He just hasn't.
He fell off now.
No, I'm serious. Terry McLaurin hasn't been as good as he's been. Because we've seen Terry McLaurin being bad quarterback situations, and he's made the absolute most of it. It just hasn't been there as much for him this year. And I think Sam Howell, when you look at it from he's leading the NFL, I think in air yards, he's passing it as much as anybody. And he's doing a fairly good job in terms of just his passing ability. He's shown me enough. It's not easy coming across like a quote unquote franchise quarterback, but I think he's shown enough there to garner a contract extension. As crazy as that sounds,
I wouldn't say contract extension, but I'll give.
I believe in a contract extension for this guy.
Contract extension is crazy. What's their pick right now? I know they're sitting top 10.
6 or something?
Their pick right now is the 4th pick.
So. Brother man, cut him. Cut him ASAP.
I mean, it would depend on how much they lose to finish out the year, though.
Yeah, I mean, they see.
They're pretty on paper. They're a pretty decent team. When you look at, they should probably have a win or 2 more.
I don't know. For me, the offense to me is not a good offense. It's a lot of broken plays. It's a lot of Sam Howell on his feet try to make plays and. Like you said, you think it's Josh Allen, but it's not really Josh Allen. It's his high school twin that we left in high school. We cloned him, but he still hasn't progressed yet. You feel me? Still stuck at that stage 1. But if they do have the 4th pick, though, I gotta cut him. I gotta them. Their issue the last couple of years is I always try to find them a franchise quarterback. I always try to find them a quarterback that can fit into a young quarterback that can fit into their system, but. Every year is a new quarterback they're getting. Every 2 years is a new quarterback. 1 year they have this guy. 1 year they have this guy. So for me, it's settle down. Get you a rookie. You have a top 4 pick, man. Get you one of these nice rookies and just try to see what happens.
I'm gonna give him 1 more year. Let's go ahead and give Sam Howell 1 more year. Do I think that the Washington Commanders should absolutely try to go in a full, complete rebuild and move off from everybody, including their head coach? Absolutely. I think the one piece that could probably just remain for one more year and stick around for a little longer, well, would just be Sam Howell, maybe a couple other pieces on their defense. But you know, like Avi said, it's kind of tough hitting on a franchise quarterback. And like I said before, when speaking about Justin Fields, it doesn't necessarily help if you have to keep going through quarterbacks, every 3 years. So, this is Sam Howell's first true year as a starter for this team, and hasn't necessarily been the greatest, but it hasn't necessarily been the worst. The wins don't necessarily show it. Sitting with a 4-9 record, it's not really nothing too crazy. They have, owning a top 5 pick, but who knows? You could use that pick to help out Sam Howell in this offense. Doesn't help that scary Terry has taken a step back and he's regressed a little bit. He hasn't been doing his job, but you probably get Sam Howell one more year. You probably fire Ron Rivera and then try to see what Eric Bieniemy can cook up. As the offensive coordinator, still maybe potentially the head coach if he gets promoted. So I'll go ahead and give him one more year. Now we have the last quarterback on this list, Geno Smith.
Well, how did I know it was going to be Geno? Why did I know it was going to be Geno? I'm not going to lie. Give Geno another year. Like, I feel like I've seen shades of when the offensive line has been healthy, when the team, everybody's available. Like, I feel like I've seen enough from Geno. Like, this Cowboys game showed me a lot. Like, and even if you go back, look at those last 2 plays where they got the ball back. I mean, when the pressure collapsed, like, he didn't even get a chance to make a play. Like, he didn't even get a chance to throw it. Like, especially the last one, Micah Parsons was right in his face automatically. Like, I feel like when this offensive line is at least healthy, it gives me a shot to evaluate how good Geno Smith actually can be. Is his decision making sometimes problematic? Sure. Can he hold the ball a little bit too long? Sure. But I feel like when it comes to just making throws and making plays, Geno Smith is a very, very solid quarterback. So I'm a fan of keeping him another year.
I'm gonna give him one more year, but at the same time, I think we look into this draft. We look into a quarterback. I feel like there's a lot of young quarterbacks in this draft that we can, come into the system kind of help us. But we give Geno this 1 year, like I'd be saying, when the offensive line is, pretty healthy, and they give him that help, it's good. We finally had our full offensive line back against the Cowboys. We finally got Abe Lucas back and Charles Cross healthy. And Abe Lucas put on a performance. And until they sent that all-out blitz that last play, Micah Parsons came off the edge. I feel like the line was, they held up. Barring the injuries, with Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker missing the game and stuff like that. I think Geno's still a great quarterback, but I think we look into this draft and we're looking for our future quarterback in this draft as well. I think Geno's time is coming up. I know this is probably after this next year, it's going to be his last year on the contract. I feel like I said multiple times, man. I feel like there's a lot of gems in this draft at quarterback, and I feel like if we grab one, put him under Geno, put him under Pete Carroll with the right toolage, I feel like we could teach him right. Just let him step into that next season when we let Geno go.
You need a quarterback that can beat the Niners. You think you want to continue with Geno Smith?
Yeah, of course.
Nah, I don't know about all that. I'm going release, man.
I think it's wild.
It's not wild, man, because I look at it like this: that if the Seattle Seahawks played in a weaker division where they didn't have to play the best team in the NFL, I think they could get by with Geno Smith for a couple of years. I'd probably go give him another year, but unfortunately, they don't play in a division like that, man. So, and even
if
they
on a team friendly deal, though, you have them on
it is team friendly, but the way I'm looking at it, man, is like you gotta be able to compete with the top dogs. Regardless, even if they were in a different division, I'd still be saying the same thing. But at the same time, it's like I need to see something against the best teams. That Dallas game was a great showing. Obviously the Dallas Cowboys were red hot. The Seattle Seahawks were coming off a tough loss on Thanksgiving, I believe that was the game before against the Niners where they lost. And they came back and they put out a good offensive outing. But at the end of the day, man, the team that they should be hunting for is a team in their division that they got to see twice a year. Can I be confident in Geno Smith to win a game against this Niners team? Absolutely not. Now, can a rookie quarterback do the same thing? Would I be confident in a rookie quarterback? Absolutely not. Not to begin with. But it's a good stepping stone to moving forward, to becoming a better team. I don't think Geno Smith's going to get any better than what he is right now. And regardless of what he's shown, even in this past game or going 4 or 5 games back, there's nothing that he's shown me that writes, give him another year. coming out of last year when he had a great year, he got given this contract. Hasn't really shown much this year, and that's why they're continuing to struggle in this tough gauntlet that they're in. So I think right now, obviously with how team friendly that contract is, you might as well just try to get out of it while you still can and bring in another quarterback and try to move in a different direction. Obviously, this quarterback class is pretty deep, so you can end up with a pretty young stud. So I'm going release, man, and it's not as crazy as it is. You guys make it out to be.
I don't know, man. Releasing a guy that's on a team friendly deal, on top of the fact that he hasn't, like, he's shown the capability of being able to run this offense and be pretty productive in it. I don't see the appeal of releasing him at all. I just don't see it.
We all watched that Niners game. How well was that offense ran? They didn't. You guys did. The Seattle Seahawks didn't score a single touchdown that game.
But at the same time, then why'd you? We seen what it looked like against the Cowboys with a healthy offensive line. We've seen the potential of how good this team can be. Like, you shouldn't base your sole decisions on, oh well, the 49ers are this good. Well, the 49ers, irregardless of whether someone had existed, are going to be good. They're going to be there. But at the same time, it's just building off what you already have. Like, there's no guarantee that you're going to hit on a quarterback coming up in this draft, especially where the Seahawks are. You're not going to land a Caleb, or you're not going to land a Drake May. You might not even land at Michael Penix because of where he is, projected. Who knows if they even can land a Jaden Daniels? He might go, towards the end of the first round, but he could go higher than that. So I just don't see like the appeal of just cutting up, saying, oh well, we're done with Geno. When he's shown he can be productive in the system, especially last year, we have a full sample size of that. I just can't.
No, he hasn't. Coming out of last year, was the whole different conversation, and now it's Geno Smith falling back down to earth, man. That's my issue. That's just my whole issue with this, man. But I'm going to go release on that one. Seattle should probably look in a different direction and try to get a new quarterback. But we can agree to disagree on that. But now we go ahead and move on to some of these coaches that are in danger of losing their job to end out this NFL season. We've already got our first firing with the Carolina Panthers. Frank Reich has been officially cut and released and fired from the Carolina Panthers. Last week they had an interim head coach. Even though they still lost, their offense did look 100 times better than what they were showing with Frank Reich. But now I got a list of head coaches that you guys are going to go ahead and tell me whether or not they should be sticking around for another year, or they should just get fired at the end of the season. And the first guy on my list is Ron Rivera.
Fire.
I'm going fire. Next one on my list, Sean McDermott.
Keep.
I'll say give him one more year.
If the Buffalo Bills miss the playoffs, I'm going fire. But if they end up making the playoffs, I'd probably give him one more year. This one's obvious. I'm gonna skip this one, but it's Brandon Staley. We all know he's getting fired at the end of the year.
Get that
brother. Next one though, Arthur Smith.
But I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, even if I dead ass, like, this is not even me talking from a fantasy perspective. Like, as a Bijan owner, honest Bijan owner, I would fire this guy regardless. I would release him. Like, there is no way you have this amount of talent on your team. You have Drake London and you have Kyle Pitts, and you're fucking starting Desmond Ridder, bro. Like, this team is just aids to watch, bro. Like, they're just
his family got money ties, man. They got deep pockets,
bro. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, this team, like, sure, like, the Ravens would have ended up matching, whatever they could have offered for Lamar Jackson. But, like, even the fact that these guys turned down the idea of Lamar Jackson just pisses me off. Like who you have Desmond Ridder. Like, who are you turning down Lamar Jackson for? Like, who are you as an organization? Like, and Arthur Smith, like I can't, like, whatever team, I can't wait for whatever team Kyle Pitts ends up going to, or ends up getting traded to, or whatever team he ends up landing on after this Atlanta Falcons situation, because I know he's going to be an absolute monster at that team. So I would release this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. For me, for me, I'll release him. Offensively, this guy does not know what he's doing with this team. I feel like they got a lot of pieces, and a lot of the issue has to do with the quarterback. Ridder is a two-piece ass. Like I said, that division has a whole lot of ass quarterbacks. He's part of it, And I feel like, it's time for them to go in the draft to get a quarterback. They should have got a quarterback. They should have went out in free agency to look for a quarterback, but nah. He tends to still use Cordell Patterson, and I don't even know why he's on the team, but you keep Bijan to one carry in the end zone, and it's a whole lot of, a whole lot of shit that don't make no sense. But yeah, cut him. He got to go ASAP. The offensive potential on this team can be much better.
I'm gonna go ahead and have him stick around a little bit. I think the Falcons should give him a year. I do think they need to figure out their quarterback situation though. I think it's very laughable looking back on it that they refused to enter the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes and them dropping out. Now, a quarterback that would look good in the Atlanta Falcons uniform and on this team, Justin Fields. I think if the Chicago Bears move off from Justin Fields, this should be the number one destination he should probably try to go to, just based on the fact that you kind of have some weapons there to work with. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and then you also have Bijan Robinson in your backfield. So, and their defense is sneaky underrated. I can't lie. I got to give them that. Defensively, they're a pretty solid team. And so the quarterback's their main issue. I'm not too sure how much blame should be put on Arthur Smith for that, just based on the fact that, yes, they missed that. They didn't want to go after Lamar Jackson, but I'm not too sure who they could have gone after in the market. You probably get one of these backups, but then at that point, you're just probably aiming for a bridge quarterback. And right now, with the way they're sitting in the division, at number one, it's a pretty close race. So even if they end up, not making the playoffs, they'll probably still try to keep him around. And if they do, I think it's a pretty much of a guarantee that they keep him around. The next coach that I have on this list, Matt Eberflus.
How long has he been there? Is this his first year?
It's his first year, man. New coach and a new GM.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. Like, I feel like there's just been a lot going on with this Chicago team, and I don't think it's enough to just simply say, "Well, we're just gonna fire him." But again, I still haven't. Like, I would just go ahead and release him. Like, if we're like, it would tie into whatever they do with Justin Fields. If they end up, deciding to trade Justin Fields, I would go ahead and release him, because it's time to head in a different direction. Get an offensive-minded coach that can just build this team with their new quarterback. So I would release him.
To be honest, I think I'll give him another year. I think it's the first year. I feel like, he came into the situation. I feel like it was pretty bad for him. I feel like him getting the reins to draft Caleb Williams, him getting to, have the decision of picking that second option as well. And then him just getting used to DJ Moore. I feel like they already know what type of offense they want to run. They try to get the ball down the field, and they know Justin Fields can't do that. If they can get a different type of quarterback that can move the ball downfield, I think the offense can work. So for me, I'll give them another year, see how it works out. If they do trade Justin Fields and, they draft Caleb Williams, we'll see what happens. But I'll give them another chance.
There's got to be a different Justin Fields out there that you're watching, because I'm not too sure if it's the same Justin Fields that I'm watching. But I'll probably go fire. I think the Bears should. I think offensively, I don't think Matt Eberflus is a good play caller for this team, and it showed in the beginning of the year. Obviously the Bears were able to, look better offensively as the season went on. But regardless, even if they do move off from Justin Fields, you probably want to bring in a better offensive minded coach, because knowing that you're going to bring in Caleb Williams and another piece to this team, probably just continue to keep going with the new GM Ryan Poles. I think he's done a pretty solid job over there, but you need to get a better coach. And if you want to, continue to exit this rebuilding phase that you're in. And it's not often where you end up with 2 top 5 picks in your lap. So they got to get the right coach for the job, and I don't think Matt Eberflus is the guy for it. The next coach that we have on this list, man, it's good old Bill Belichick.
I would fire him. I'd release him. And the reason why I would say this is because I feel like he has way too much power into this organization. Like, if you look at his draft choices, since 2019, it's just been downright tragic. And I don't think he's like washed in the sense of, if he went to a different, situation and he was a head coach there, I feel like he would still do a very, very good job. He would be my candidate for if Brandon Staley got fired for the Chargers job. But I just think that, like, at this point with this organization, how long he's been there, he just has way too much influence and way too much power, to the point where he's hurt this team with its team building. His choices. He's essentially another GM on this team, and he's done a terrible job. So I'd release him.
Yeah, I'm releasing him at this point. Ever since Tom Brady left, the team's just been getting ass even worse. Their draft picks, their free agency decisions, just everything. just everything they have done, everybody they signed, every position they signed, every draft pick they picked has been an F. And all it does to him because he has 98% of the power control. I mean, rightfully so because due to the history of what he's done for the Patriots, but it's killed the team, and I think they got to go another direction. So for me, it's fire. Time to rebuild that team. Let a new coach come in. Let a new GM, let new people come in and just build that team from ground up again.
I know we've been all seeing some Cars memes, that Disney movie on Twitter. Bill Belichick is Lightning McQueen in that last movie, man. This is it, bro. Like the game of football has passed Bill Belichick. Like he's not able to keep up with any of these new guys, man. A lot of, his time is up. As a head coach, as a GM, the Patriots, if they want to move in a better direction, they want to move forward. They got to cut their ties with Bill Belichick. So I would fire him literally. If Bill Belichick wasn't the GOAT coach that he is, he would be out of the office, out of the building by tonight. But unfortunately, he's going to be able to stick around for a couple more weeks. But this has got to be the end of the road for him for sure. The next coach, Antonio Pierce.
I would keep him. Give him another year.
I
would give him another year.
The Raiders could look for a better coach. What's wrong with that?
I kind of like the culture that he's kind of brought in. I
like locker room guys.
I feel like he's been able to connect with the players a lot better. I feel like he's attempting to build a culture there, and that's kind of the same thing that happens, with the Lions. Dan Campbell came in there and he tried to instill a winning culture, and he ended up hiring a guy like Ben Johnson as his offensive coordinator, who's done a phenomenal job. Probably is going to be a candidate to be a head coach somewhere else. But I feel like that's the type of situation that he's attempting to recreate. It's still a winning culture. Build some sort of discipline. You can see that the players respect him, and I'd give him another year, see what it's like.
Yeah, I'll give him another year. I like what he first came into the locker room, what he did for them. I feel like he's a great locker room guy. Like I'd be said that Dan Campbell, what he did with the Lions. I feel like this guy coming into here, I feel like the locker room messes with them. They got a lot of young guys. They're gonna have another draft pick that's gonna be a great pick. I feel like they can get a quarterback. If they do, I feel like they have to get a quarterback. So for me, them getting a quarterback's the main thing. But with him leading the helm, I think he's a good coach, especially with a young team.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'd probably give him one more year, but at the same time, the way that I look at it is like the Raiders were in a chokehold with McDaniels. So after McDaniels got removed from that locker room, it's like a breath of fresh air. They've been in a chokehold for so long. So anybody could have stepped into that position, and the Raiders would have responded. The Raiders players would have responded the way that they did. So now, as the season goes on, now at the end of the season, maybe we could revisit this conversation. But for right now, probably give him one more year. With the way the players have responded to him, it's been nothing but positive vibes in that locker room. So as a Raiders organization, you probably want to keep those vibes high and those vibes going, and probably try to see what you could do there. Next, we have Mike Vrabel.
I'm not gonna lie, that Titans team is a bit washed, but I feel like Mike Vrabel does a good enough job of working with the pieces that he has. It's been that way for some time. Even last year, before injuries just started piling up on that Titans team, I feel like he's been able to just kind of work with what he's got. He's I would give him another year. I like what Mike Vrabel's about. I like the culture that he's kind of instilled. He's a defensive minded head coach. He kind of works with what he has, and I feel like he's good with team building. So I'll give him another year.
Man, I feel like all these teams doing this Patriot way style, you got to step away from that. To me, I feel like Mike Vrabel, we've seen enough of his style, even when the team's healthy or not. Still don't think they can compete for a Super Bowl. I still don't think they're a top 4, top 5 team in the AFC, even if they're healthy. To me, I just feel like the way they play, their play style, very slow football. It's very hard-nosed football. In this day and age, I don't think that works anymore. So for me, cut. This is another one of these teams that I'm trying to see, rebuild and go away from the same style they've been playing the last 10 years.
I'll probably go release as well. I think that the time is up for Mike Vrabel and this Tennessee Titans team, because we know what their identity has been for these last 4 or 5 years since he's been the head coach. It might be a time for a change. Try to move in a different direction, especially with a rookie quarterback like Will Levis, who's shown some flashes that he could be the franchise guy over there. Probably want to bring in a more offensive-minded head coach and probably try to go in a different direction as a franchise as a whole. Try to rebuild around him and try to get him some better pieces. Next, we have Robert Saleh.
I'm 100% keeping him. I think I'm 100% keeping him. There's no question about that. Like, sure,
Give him
they've.
that extension.
What's up?
I said, give him an extension.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100% give him an extension. I mean, like you've seen that the identity that he's built with this team defensively, they've been one of the best teams in the entire NFL. You know, when he on that side of the ball when he's come in, like he's just built a culture on that end. And I feel like this year it's the fact that his quarterback ended up getting injured. I think that he has the right ideas in place, and I like what he's brought to this team. And like I'm a big fan of Robert Saleh, so maybe he's had a couple of mistakes this year, but that's part of being a coach. You end up making errors, and it's not like he doesn't have his franchise quarterback or the quarterback that he traded for, coming back next year. So we'll end up seeing what it looks like, but I would 100% give him a contract extension.
100% give him a contract extension as well. It's tough. It's tough to win games with Zach Wilson as your quarterback. I didn't say he's ass. But, once you lose the quarterback that you trade for, you got your hands tied. There's not really much options left. You just got to go with it, And he's a very great defensive-minded coach. You can tell how resilient that defense is already and how great they've been playing. So, give him another contract extension. But we're going to judge him off next year offensively when, Aaron Rodgers comes back healthy.
Him backing Zach Wilson still doesn't sit right for me. It still sit right with me till this day as a Garrett Wilson fantasy owner. But I'll go ahead and give him. I'll go ahead and give him one more year. I want to see what it looks like with Aaron Rodgers. So, but the last coach that I have on this list, Brian Daboll.
I would give him a contract extension. I think last year was very impressive to me. Like what he did with that Giants team. Like it wasn't like a whole lot of talent, and the fact that they made it to the wild card, they even won a game too. I think it speaks volume to how good of a coach he is. Like I think this year is just the fact that progression kicked in for this team, and it's not as talented. And Saquon's been hurt, and the offensive line has been terrible, and they don't have wide receivers, and Daniel Jones isn't good, and all these different things. But even if you go back to what he was able to do with a guy like Josh Allen, I think Brian Daboll's a really really good coach. So I'd give him a contract extension.
I'm giving another year contract extension. Actually, I feel like the first year he came in, he made the playoffs. Second year it went down, but let the team get healthy. I feel like once they get everybody back healthy and everything, he's gonna do good. I feel like he's a great coach, so I give him another year.
I'll go ahead and give him another year. Now we move on to just the biggest surprises, biggest disappointments. Let's go ahead and fire them off.
Biggest surprises was my Packers winning. I didn't have much faith. Considering the fact that this is the Chiefs defense that has been absolutely lights out. They've been playing great on that end. And, Jordan Love just had that first drive was just unbelievable to me. Like he started off the game, I think 13 for 13. He was just ripping off throws left and right to Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed. Like he was just on point all night. And the biggest disappointment to me is I think we can relatively all be on the same page. I think the Eagles is a huge disappointment. I mean, to get punched in the mouth like that and just absolutely get embarrassed after the Niners were talking shit the entire offseason, that's just a huge disappointment to me.
Yeah, I think I agree with Abdi. Jordan Love coming in, slicing and dicing this fantastic Chiefs defense. Pretty sure it was a bye week, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he came in, cooked up, showed up. And yeah, biggest disappointment is the Eagles. They got punched in the mouth. They didn't stand up business.
I agree with that one. Biggest disappointment will be Philly. My biggest surprise outside of the Packers, I got to go with the Bengals and Jake Browning. I think Jake Browning on Monday night, with all the expectations going into that game for the Bengals, especially after that last week game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think he came out and he did a phenomenal job on primetime against a very, very good Jacksonville Jaguars team. So, I'm not too sure if he's able to keep that up moving forward and continue to keep the Bengals in a wild card race. But as a Bengals fan, it's a little bit interesting. I'm curious to see whether or not they should probably try to tank for a high draft pick, knowing that T Higgins might potentially be on his way out. You might want to be able to replace him with the top draft pick, or do you just continue to ride out with Jake Browning and hope that he continues to play well and hopefully just make a wild card berth and see where that leads you. So let's go. That's my biggest surprise. To go to these weekly predictions this week, Abdi, we all went 9-4 this week. Last week we had a couple of 12-4s between me and you, and then Big H went 11-5, which leads us to our total week by week records. You're still at number 1 with a record of 130 and 63. Big H, you're right behind him with a record of 128 and 65. And I'm
Oh
still right
yeah.
there at third
Oh yeah.
with
I'm there.
125 to 68, man. I believe we have about 4 or 5 weeks left of football left. So, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm not too sure if I'm able to catch up in this race, but I got to start swinging for the fences at this point.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, you're gonna have to take some shots, man.
I'll take some shots, man. But with that being said, though, any final words before we sign off here?
Man, the wild card hunt is gonna be interesting, man. It's the end of the stretch of the season where you're gonna have to buckle down in an attempt to get your team and hope your team can get in a position to win. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
It's gonna be a fight down the stretch, man.
Or I mean, what are we all sitting at 6-6?
Yeah.
Hey, man, we got 3 teams in the from the NFC North representing the playoffs right now.
Yeah,
Why not
man.
us?
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
Why not us, man? We're all together, hand in hand, man. Detroit at number 1, but they're not leaving us behind, and so we'll take that. Hopefully, we could just continue to reel off these wins as the season goes on, and we'll see where the chips fall. At the end of the season, we'll see if we end up making the playoffs. So, with that being said, though, we'll go ahead and close out this episode here. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I really appreciate your love and support. We'd greatly appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Media Podcast. For those of you that are watching us on YouTube, all of our social media handles will be at the end of this video. And if you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, if you go to our Instagram page at New Media Podcast, you'll be able to navigate yourself to all of our social media handles there. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Record a new hit, then we making us a film. Wouldn't sign a deal if I got a couple mil. Been in the lab, now they throwing out deals. Me and now Lakes, now that's overkill.